When you hear the name Thor, you probably picture Chris Hemsworth with his flowing blonde hair and chiseled ABS, right? Well, today we're diving into the original legend, the OG god of thunder from Norse mythology. This Thor is a bit different, more rugged, more hot-headed, and honestly, even more epic. So, who was the real Thor? He was the eldest son of Odin, the All-Father, and the Earth goddess. Known as the god of thunder, Thor was the ultimate protector of both Asgard, the realm of the gods, and Midgard, the world of humanity. His main job, smashing giants. He was, without a doubt, the strongest of all the Aesir gods, their champion and heavy hitter. Picture this, a colossal figure with a fiery red beard and fierce eyes. He wasn't just strong on his own, he had some legendary gear. First, there's Miglelinir, the iconic hammer. This wasn't just any weapon. Forged by dwarves, it could level mountains, and after being thrown, it would always return to his hand, like a divine boomerang of destruction. To wield this immense power, he wore a pair of iron gloves called and as if that wasn't enough, Eade belt Megingard, which literally doubled his already godlike strength. When Thor geared up, you knew things were about to get serious. And how did this powerhouse get around? Not be flying, but in a chariot, pulled by two magical goats, Tengrisnir and Tankosta, which mean teeth-bearer and teeth-grinder. These weren't ordinary goats. If Thor and his companions were hungry on a long journey, they could kill and eat the goats, and as long as they placed the bones back on the hides, Thor could resurrect them the next day, good as new. The sound of his chariot rumbling across the sky was what mortals heard as thunder. Now, let's talk about his personality. Thor was not a schemer like his father, Odin. He was straightforward, brutally honest, and had a notoriously short temper, especially when it came to giants. He was the god of action, not words. While Odin played the long game with wisdom and cunning, Thor's solution to most problems was to hit them really, really hard with his hammer. He was fiercely loyal and saw the world in black and white. Order, which he defended, and chaos, embodied by the giants, which he sought to destroy. His entire career was basically a highlight reel of giant slaying. He took down countless of them. One famous story tells of his duel with Hrungnir, a stone giant whose head and heart were made of solid rock. During their battle, Hrungnir threw a massive whetstone at Thor, while Thor hurled Mjolnir. The weapons collided midair, shattering the whetstone, but a piece got lodged in Thor's forehead. Despite his injury, Thor's hammer crushed Hrungnir's skull. The fragment in his head remained as a permanent battle scar. Perhaps the most famous and funniest story is about how Thor lost and retrieved his hammer. One morning, he woke up to find Miglelinir gone. The trickster god Loki discovered that the giant king Thrym had stolen it and hidden it deep underground. Thrym's demand for its return. The hand of the beautiful goddess Freya in marriage. Freya, understandably, was furious at the suggestion. So, the gods came up with a new plan, courtesy of Loki. Thor would disguise himself as Freya and go to the wedding. Thor, the manliest of gods, hated the idea of dressing as a bride, but he had no choice. So, with Loki disguised as his bridesmaid, Thor traveled to the land of the giants. At the wedding feast, Freya shocked everyone by eating an entire ox and 8 salmon, and drinking 3 barrels of mead. Loki had to quickly explain that the bride was so excited she hadn't eaten for a week. When Thrym tried to steal a kiss, he was startled by Thor's burning eyes. Again, Loki explained it was due to her sleepless nights dreaming of the wedding. Finally, to seal the marriage, Thrym called from Mjolnir to be brought and placed in the bride's lap. The moment Thor felt his hammer, he ripped off his veil, grabbed Mjolnir, and proceeded to smash Thrym and his entire giant clan. The wedding was off, and Thor had his hammer back. But Thor wasn't always victorious, at least not in the way he thought. His journey to the giant fortress of Utgard is a testament to this. Accompanied by Loki and a human servant, Thor was challenged by the giant king Utgard-Loki to a series of contests. Thor, confident in his strength, accepted. First, he was challenged to a drinking contest. He was given a large drinking horn and told to empty it in 3 gulps. He drank as hard as he could, but the level barely lowered. He failed. Next, he was asked to lift the king's large cat from the floor. Thor, the strongest of gods, could only manage to lift one of its paws, He failed again, feeling deeply humiliated. Finally, he was challenged to wrestle an old woman, the king's nursemaid, Ellie. To his shock, the more he struggled, the stronger she seemed, and he was eventually forced down to one knee. He was defeated. The next morning, as they were leaving, Odgardeloki revealed the truth. It was all an illusion. The drinking horn was connected to the ocean. Thor had drunk so much that he created the tides. The cat he tried to lift was actually Jarmanganda, the Midgard serpent that encircles the world. The fact he lifted its paw terrified the giants, and the old woman, Ellie, was the embodiment of old age itself, which no one can defeat. Thor was furious at being tricked, but when he turned to strike at Gardeloki, the king and his entire fortress vanished. This brings us to Thor's greatest nemesis, the Midgard serpent. This colossal serpent was one of Loki's children, and Thor's destined enemy. Their most famous encounter happened during a fishing trip. Thor, wanting to face his foe, used the head of an ox as bait and cast his line into the deepest part of the ocean. The serpent took the bait, and Thor pulled with all his might, his feet crashing through the bottom of the boat and planting themselves on the seafloor. He hauled the monstrous serpent's head out of the water, and the two stared at each other, poison dripping from the serpent's fangs. Thor raised Mjolnir for the killing blow, but his terrified giant companion cut the line, and the serpent escaped back into the depths. This was just a preview of their final battle. That final battle comes during Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. In this apocalyptic war, Thor and Jarmangandr finally have their duel. Thor, in a furious battle, succeeds in killing the great serpent with his hammer. But as the beast thrashes in its death throes, it spews a torrent of venom all over Thor. The god of thunder stumbles back, victorious but mortally wounded. He manages to take exactly 9 steps before he collapses and dies, his life given to protect the world one last time. Even though he falls, Thor's legacy is immortal. He represents unwavering strength, protection, and the courage to face down the forces of chaos, no matter the cost. His influence is everywhere. The word Thursday is literally Thor's Day. During the Viking Age, small amulets of his hammer, Mjolnir, were incredibly popular symbols of protection. And of course, his story has been reborn in modern pop culture. From the Marvel comics and movies, to video games like God of War, where he remains a symbol of pure, unyielding power. So, the next time a thunderstorm rolls in, you can imagine it's not just weather. It's Thor, riding his Gotron chariot across the sky, a Marinen forever. The guardian of gods and mortals. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into Norse mythology, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into ancient legends. See you next time.